Hey everybody, I believe we're live.
Hey, hey, what's up?
Hey, how's
What's up?
everybody? How's everybody hanging tonight? So we're here on election night, going live so we can talk about everything that's going on with our agenda here today. We have election updates, California state proposition updates, anti-discrimination, Amy Barrett, see what she's up to, and then we also want to discuss the contract with Black America, Ice Cube's plan versus Lift Every Voice, which is Joe Biden's Black proposal versus the Platinum plan uh, that Donald Trump has. All right. So, how you guys feeling tonight?
I'm feeling anxious. I don't know about y'all. I'm feeling anxious. We don't know who is gonna be the president, tomorrow or in the next few weeks. I'm feeling anxious, but I'm feeling good also. So that's how I'm feeling.
All right, so who do you want to win, bro?
I don't. So I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Today I went, I voted, and I voted down ballot. So that means that I went into the voting booth, to the polls, and handed in my ballot with no choice for Trump, no choice for Biden. I left the top of the ticket blank, and I voted. Excuse me, and I voted in every single one of the 12 or 13 California state propositions, as well as all three of the local ballot measures here in the city of Sacramento, as well as some of the local and state races. To be honest, I don't have a dog in the presidential fight. I think both candidates are pretty bad. Uh, so, so that's who I want to win.
So, Chris, was your phone blowing up with people wanting last minute voting advice from you?
I got a bunch of. I've got over the last several days. Actually, I had a bunch of people reach out for either links to our 80 West California, excuse me, our 80 West California voting guide, or links to our 80 West Sacramento voting guide, which is a modification or a version of the 80 West California voting guide. And I had a few people reach out on Twitter as well for links to the guide. I think we did a really good job, and this is a big shout out to you both, as well as to the 80 West California family at large. We did a pretty good job of getting the word out about what we thought were the best choices for the proposition statewide. Prior to the election, in the lead up to the election. So, and we're already getting some questions about what the results are. We don't have final results or results yet. Definitely something that we want to talk about tonight. But to answer your question directly, I've gotten more inquiries about which way to vote over the last several days than I have probably over the last several weeks. So there has been some increased activity for sure. Yes.
And just to let everybody know, family, we're definitely gonna go over the California propositions. I know there was a comment about what's going on with Prop 16, but we'll definitely get into that later on into the show.
All right. So we have a quick question for the audience, a little brain teaser. All this talk about the electoral college. We have a little quiz. How many electoral college votes does it take to win the US presidential and vice presidential election?
All right, I guess I'll give some a quiz music. I don't want to do a copyright. What was that? I'm trying to remember, what was that show called?
Jeopardy.
Jeopardy. Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll do it differently.
Let's see. Let's see. Do we have an answer here? Are we ready for answer? The first one to come in is from Carla Dickey.
Ding 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 ding.
She got it right. 270.
270, fam.
All right.
All
In the
right, so we have
United States, the Electoral College refers to the group of presidential electors required by the United States Constitution to form every 4 years for the sole purpose of electing the President and Vice President of the United States. Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2 of the Constitution provides that each state shall appoint electors selected in a manner its legislature determines, and it disqualifies any person holding a federal office, either elected or appointed, from being an elector. There are currently 538 electors, and an absolute majority of electoral votes, 270 or more, is required to win the election. All right. Thank you for your answer there.
yeah,
And
great answer.
any thoughts on the electoral college? As much as we talk about it, I still find it confusing. Can you break it down in layman's terms, Chris?
Yeah, it's without getting too complicated about how it started. I mean, basically, it started as a compromise um, over slavery, okay, and over slaves, over us, to be quite honest. Um, but generally, it is a way, and the way that we elect the president in the United States. So we don't do a popular vote election. We do an electoral college election. In a popular vote election, the person with the most votes wins. So you count up all of the votes nationally. The person with the most votes wins. That's not how we do it here in the United States. We do an electoral college system where every state itself, based on the number of votes in each state, gives the winner or the candidates for the election a certain number of electoral college votes. So, for example, here in the state of California, we have a total of 55 electoral college votes to give, meaning whoever wins our state, whether it's Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Joe Biden won tonight, by the way, our state of California. We don't know who the president is going to be yet. We are still waiting on some new information about what the state of the race is right now at 9 p.m. West Coast time, midnight East Coast time. But let's say Joe Biden wins, which he did our state of California. Well, then our state of California gives Joe Biden all 55 of our electoral votes, and that counts towards his 270 electoral votes needed to win. So that's how it works in every single state. It's state by state. We elect presidents state by state, not with a national popular, whoever gets the most votes all together wins. That's not how we do it. We do it with an electoral college state by state voting system. So you have to win all of the state's electoral votes, in total 270, to be the president.
Okay. Speaking of all these votes and early votes, it looks like we have early voting numbers that have been through the roof. Um, let's see, approximately 97 million as early voting has concluded in all 50 states and Washington, D.C. At least 97 million votes have been cast in the 2020 general election, according to state data. Nationally, voters have cast more than 70% of the total ballots counted in the 2016 general election, when 166 million Americans voted. In 2016, there were almost 43 million early votes. So, does all this early voting make a difference? All this voting, when it all sounds like it boils down to what happens with the electoral college anyway?
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And actually, there's a question in the chat that I wanted to
Ah,
answer
let's see.
about the electoral college, and then segue right into the question that you asked, Kim. Um,
It's
the number of your state's electoral college votes, if I'm not mistaken, is determined by the size of your state. So, and by size we mean population size. So the more people there, the more electoral college votes your state has. That's how your state decides how many electoral college votes to give a particular candidate or excuse me, a particular state, and each state's number of electoral votes is fixed unless there's a change in the population. So, for example, California has 55, right? New York has, I think, 19 or 20 or 29 or something like that. Texas has about 38. Um, so, how we determine how many electoral votes per state is determined by the state's population size. To your question, Kim, about the early voting, you're absolutely right. From what I understand, there are over 100 million votes cast um, early votes cast before we even got to today, Tuesday, November 3rd. So that's largely for a few different reasons. One, we are in we are living in a pandemic, so a lot of the early in-person voting that you would have seen, and a lot of the early in-person voting mobilization efforts, going door to door, et cetera, a lot of that has been stopped because of COVID 19, and so to make people more safe, to prevent people from catching the virus, states have allowed more early mail-in voting to happen so that there wouldn't be so many people in contact with one another during the election day itself. So that's largely why we've seen so much more early voting. And does it make a difference? It depends on where you're looking. So, if you ask, for example, the Biden campaign right now, I think they're probably very happy that they got a lot of early voting in. If you ask the Trump campaign right now, they may tell you that the early voting didn't matter as much for them because they got a lot of people to show up on election day. It looks like. So it depends on where you're looking. It depends on who you're asking. Generally, we expect that the early and mail-in voting will lean to the favor of the Democrats. That's just what we expect. It's not always true, and the voting closer to the election, including a lot of the same day voting, tends to favor the Republicans. So that's what we expect.
All right. And we have another question for the audience here. Who were the 5 U.S. presidents that won the Electoral College but lost the popular vote? Yamoya, the background music.
My bad. Y'all gotta cue me up, man. I ain't ready for all this, man. There we go. That one was good. The first one.
This
I
one's
gotta
tough.
get back to this now.
Yeah, we don't have any answers yet.
Let me
No
try
answers
one.
yet.
So I know. Wait, hold on. So the question is, who were the 5 U.S. presidents that won the electoral college? Well, Trump is one. Excuse me. Trump is one.
Ding ding ding.
Trump is definitely one because Hillary Clinton actually won the popular vote, as her supporters will tell you over and over again, but lost the electoral college. So Hillary for sure.
Here's an answer.
Obama, was it? I'm not sure. I think Obama won both the popular and electoral college.
Womp womp.
Maybe, I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But I know Trump is definitely one. I want to say also that George W. Bush in 2000.
Wow.
That's my second guess, and that's as far as I'm gonna go in terms of guessing. But Trump and W. Bush.
Okay, so should we let him off the hook? Let him off the hook.
I don't know. Is anybody else in the chat who has any answers? Anybody else? Obama? Okay, yeah, I guess Kim. Let's go with the answers.
Let him off the hook. Okay. And the answer is
2 out of 5.
so you got two right. Chris, pretty good there.
These other people, I didn't even know they was president except Adams.
I know, me either, man. When I looked it up, I was like, I used to be Hayes, Benjamin Harrison.
Sound like a blues player.
Right.
And Benjamin Harris, yeah, I didn't know these people were even presidents. But great question.
Well, yeah, it's interesting with George W. Bush. In particular with George W. Bush, that was the time with the whole Chad's thing. I don't know if you guys remember that. And then, yeah, that was with the Chad's thing in 2000, because that was when Al Gore ran against
Florida.
Yep.
The hanging Chads.
And then obviously with Trump in 2016. I didn't even know that with Trump, that he actually didn't win. Oh, I totally forgot. I think Hillary Clinton actually won the popular vote, if I'm correct. And then Trump actually won the Electoral College.
That's what happened. So
her supporters kept reminding us of that. You know, that she really won. She really won. But no, because we have an electoral system here, and people do. And I see some comments in the chat that say that, you know, the Electoral College should be abolished. There's a whole movement called the National Popular Vote Movement, where I think like a certain number of states have committed themselves to like doing a popular vote. If a certain number of other states do it, like there's some like agreement going on, and correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. If you are familiar with the National Popular Vote Movement, but there is a movement among states to sort of say, hey, whoever wins our popular vote is going to get our like electoral votes or whatever. So there is a movement to abolish the Electoral College because it is an antiquated way of electing a president, right? And it does come from a compromise over us as property, right? Us American descendants of slavery, right? Black Americans who descend from U.S. chattel slavery. It is a consequence of a compromise over how to deal with our bodies as property, right? So, do we still want to be electing a president like that? 200-300 years later, probably not. But it's going to take more than just feeling bad about it to change it.
all right, and then here's some information here, Moya, if you wanted to share with the audience.
All right, family. Kim, actually, can you take the slide off just real quick, and then we'll go back to it? Because I know you had the call.
Yeah, just one sec.
All right. So family. Basically, I don't know. Kim, can you get us back onto the screen or not?
Oh, back on. If you want to come back onto the screen. Yeah. All right, I got you.
That people wouldn't want to see my lovely face. Or not, depending on who you ask.
All right, let's see if we can make that happen.
Okay, cool. We're back. At least I am. All right, so family, if you do happen to call in, I know that there was a scroll at the bottom. If you do call in, just to let you know that you will hear the show. And then we'll go ahead and then we'll let you know once you're on air. That's about it. There are some instructions in there. Please listen to the instructions if you want to chat, made your voice heard online. Okay. So just a heads up. I know that the call-in notification was scrolling at the bottom. So if you do call in, once again, you will hear the show. And also just make sure you if you're listening onto your computer, just make sure you turn that part down as well. And so we should all be good to go. So yeah, Kim, if you want to put back up that slide. Appreciate it. All right, cool. So here we go. So how does California select its electors? On or before October 1st of the presidential election year, each party's nominee must file a list containing the names, addresses, and telephone numbers of the 55 electors pledged to him/her. Each party determines its own method for selecting electors. In the Democratic Party, each congressional nominee and each U.S. Senate nominee, determined by the last two elections, designates one elector. Elections Code Section 7100. In the Republican Party, the nominees for governor, lieutenant governor, treasurer, controller, attorney general, secretary of state, U.S. Senate at the last two elections, Assembly Republican leader, Senate Republican leader, all elected officers of the Republican State Central Committee, National Committeemen/women, president of the Republican County, Central Committee Chairmen's Association, and chair of president of each Republican volunteer organization officially recognized by the Republican State Central Committee, also known as RSCC, shall be electors. U.S. senators, representatives in Congress, and persons holding office of trust or profit of the U.S. may not be electors. Any additional vacancies shall be filed by appointment of the chair of Republican State Central Committee according to Republican State Central Committee bylaws. Republican State Central Committee chair must file the list with the Secretary of State by October 1st of the presidential election year, Elections Code Section 7300. So yes, for all you Republican Party members, there you go. An American Independent, wow, there's actually an American Independent Party still in existence. Green and Libertarian Party electors are nominated at their state convention, and the state chair certifies their names and residence addresses to the Secretary of State. That's according to Elections Code Section 7578. And the Peace and Freedom Party electors are nominated at their state convention. Electors shall be 50% women and 50% shall be men. The party chair certifies the list to the Secretary of State, Electors Code Section 7843. No incumbent senators, congressional representatives, or persons holding an office of trust or profit in the United States can serve as electors. But
That was a mouthful.
I'm tired. I'm tired. I'm done. I think that's my last speaking of the whole night.
Oh man. Yeah, that was a lot, man. That was a lot. And thank you for pulling up the electoral map right on cue. We just learned actually that the state of Ohio, which has 18 electoral votes, if you look to the right, on in the top not top corner, but right next to Indiana and Pennsylvania. Look at Ohio. Ohio has 18 electoral votes, and the state of Ohio was just called for Donald Trump, which is a kind of a big deal because Ohio is generally a swing state. I think it went for Obama twice, went for Trump the first time. So this is a big deal. This was just called in the last, I believe, 5 or 10 minutes. So big news.
So yeah, so if you notice that California obviously has the most votes, electoral college representatives at 55, and then I think New York is what 29, Florida's at 29. Who else is pretty high up there?
Texas has 38.
Texas, yes, Texas. That now, Chris, is that considered a swing state this year or no?
So great question because technically no, excuse me, because it hasn't swung anywhere from the Republican corner probably ever in my lifetime. But every year or every cycle for the last, let's say, 2 or 3 maybe 4 election cycles, there has been movement, or at least in terms of polling data, there seems to be movement toward more Democrats being a part of the Texas voter electorate, and that's largely driven by people coming from other states, at least from what we understand. People coming from other states moving into Texas. Some people come from California, to be honest with you, moving into Texas. That's also driven by the increasing Latino population in Texas. However, the Latino population votes 1 in 3 for Republicans. About 33% of Latinos vote for the Republican Party. But still, that still leaves 2/3 that would, or at least as much as 2/3 that would vote for the Democrats. So a combination of people coming in from different parts of the country, and then also a rising Latino vote. Texas Texas looks like it will be more winnable for Democrats in the future. That's what it looks like in the polling, but it never really does that on election day, and or we haven't seen that happen in election day. I mean, Texas is the state of Ted Cruz, right? Beto O'Rourke, right? Who was supposed to be this rising Democratic star, who lost to Ted Cruz, by the way, in Texas, and who ultimately when he ran for president was out of the race probably in the first few months or so. So there's and who couldn't win and who would not have won his home state of Texas, in the primaries. So this is somewhat based on some favorable looking at some polling, and also I think sort of Democratic Party fantasies in some way that they would flip Texas from red to blue. We don't really see that in any real way. When we just to circle back to one of your earlier questions, Kim, in terms of turnout, we saw some huge turnout numbers in Texas over the last 24, 48 hours. We've seen parts of Texas where they are at 100, 115% of their total turnout before election day. So they hit their total 2016 turnout total plus some before election day. Um, is that good for Trump? Is that good for Biden? We will see. Right now, Texas is in the lean Republican camp as we are looking at the election map right now. And fam, we are as we are shooting this live right now, Texas has not been called yet, which does raise some concerns, or at least some questions about whether or not Texas is as solidly red as we once thought it was. Like I said, there are some underlying trends that we can point to that suggest that Texas will be soon one day winnable for Democrats if those trends continue. But right now, it's not a swing state in any sense of the word, unless something happens in the next hour or 2 hours, or whenever they finish counting their votes. Right now, Trump is ahead in Texas. By the way, as we're looking at this right now at 9:30 p.m. West Coast time, 12:30 a.m. East Coast time.
Okay, so the top of the ticket sounds like it's anyone's ball game right now. Let's see what's going on with the state propositions. Do we have any idea what these numbers are looking at, or will we not know until much later? If you could just kind of run through the propositions, Chris.
Yeah, so let me get my notes up here, and I'm looking at, and if folks want to follow along, you can go to results.saccounty.net, or you could just Google Sacramento County election results and go to the Sacramento County website and find the most recent election results. You can look by your local races, you can look by state races, you can look by propositions. I'm going to pull up the state propositions information, and Just a heads up, excuse me. These are the results as of last updated um, uh, 8:10 p.m. Pacific time. We're expecting another update at 10 p.m. Pacific time. So the numbers we have right now are not complete. We have about 35. We have about 35%, 35, 36% of the count in. And by count, I mean that there are 317,817 ballots counted. Um, of 883,549 registered voters. Now we don't know if all of those registered voters did vote, right? But 35% of all of the votes that could have come in, we have counted, and that is going to be updated in another half hour or so. So let's go down the line with the different propositions, with 93% of all precincts already reporting. We have for Proposition 14, the yes is at 53%, the no is at 46%. So the yes is winning. I'm gonna follow this one. Proposition 15. Oh, and sorry, let me say what the ballot measures are about to. So Proposition 14 authorizes bonds continuing funding for stem cell research, right? It's a $5 million bond for stem cell research. Right now, yes, 53%, no, 46%. Proposition 15 increases funding sources for public schools, community colleges, and local government services by changing taxes. No, 51%. Yes, 48%. Proposition 16, very close to our hearts here in California, ADOS California specifically. Proposition 16 allows diversity as a factor in public employment, education, and contracting. This brings affirmative action back, for lack of a better way to explain it. I am sad to report that with 35% of what we think will be the total votes counted, and it's still early, um, no, 57%. Yes, 42%. So Prop 16 is down 15 points right now. 175,000 votes for no, 129,000 votes for yes, for a total of 304,000 votes. It's still early. We still have a lot of votes to count. Like I said, we will get another update in about 25 minutes or so. But right now, Prop 16 is down. Prop 17 restores the vote restores the right to vote for after the completion of your prison term. So this is the free the vote for the parolees who are not in prison. This is also a proposition that is near and dear to our heart here at 80 West California, one that we supported. Yes, 58%, no, 48%. So Prop 17 is winning right now with 181,000 votes in favor, yes, 127,000 votes not in favor, no, for a total of 308,000 votes. Proposition 18 amends the California Constitution to allow 17-year-olds to vote in primary and special elections if they will be 18 by the time of their by the time of the general election. Surprisingly enough, right now, with 35% of all the votes that we think will come in, no, 55%, yes, 44%. So right now, at least with 1/3 of the count in, a majority of Californians don't want 17-year-olds to be voting. And we here at 80 West California, we did recommend a yes on Prop 18. So that's very surprising. That may change, as we get more information in, right? Um, Proposition 19 changes certain property tax rules. This was another property tax change. We recommended a yes on Prop 19 for 80 West California, if I'm not mistaken. Right now, yes, 54%, no, 45%. So right now, Prop 16 is on its way to victory, but again, we have a lot of votes yet to be counted. Proposition 20 restricts parole for nonviolent offenders, authorizes felony sentences for certain offenses currently treated as misdemeanors. This is the one we call like the increased mass incarceration proposition. It like made it easier to catch a felony and like gave you less, less like parole. This was a really weird proposition to actually see on the ballot, right? Who the hell is recommending more mass incarceration? But I'm happy to report right now, no, 61%, yes, 38%. So right now the no is winning. No more mass incarceration is winning right now. We'll see if that changes or not. And of course, here at ADOS Sacramento, ADOS California and ADOS Sacramento, we were recommending a no on Prop 20 as well. Prop 21 expands local government authority to enact rent control on residential property. This is the proposition that would allow local governments to do more rent control where they can't right now. Obviously, we're in a pandemic, and a lot of people's rents and incomes have been affected, right, because of the pandemic. This would make more rent control possible by local governments inside of California. Right now, sad to report that no on 21 is winning 62%. Yes on 21 is losing 37%. So we'll see if that changes. But right now, no, 62%. Yes, 37%. Proposition 22. All right. The Uber and Lyft proposition exempts Uber and Lyft from providing employee benefits to certain drivers. So this is a proposition that allows Uber and Lyft to not have to provide certain levels of compensation and care for their drivers. We recommended a no on Prop 22. Sad to say, yes, 61%, no, 38%, with about 35% of all the votes in. So that is one that we will keep watching. But right now, yes on Prop 22 is winning 61 to 38. Proposition 23 establishes state requirements for kidney dialysis clinics, requires on-site medical professional staff. We at ADOS California were recommending a yes on Prop 23 for a number of reasons, one of which, if I remember correctly, was that the proposition would have stopped discrimination over sources of payment for care. And we know a lot of our folks here in California use government assisted payments of care, and so we don't want them to be discriminated against. So we recommended a yes on Prop 23. Sad to report though that no, 66%, yes, 33%. So right now Prop 23 is losing 66 to 33. Proposition 24, we're almost done. 2 more to go. Proposition 24 amends consumer privacy laws. We were a yes on Prop 24 here as a statewide group. Right now, happy to report that yes is winning 56, no 43. So if these numbers hold, which we don't know they will, but if they do, then the yes will win on Prop 24. And finally, Prop 25, referendum to overturn a 2018 law that replaced money bail system with a system based on public safety risk. This was a very controversial ballot measure. The ADOS California team, as a statewide group, recommended a yes on Prop 25. There were a couple of groups within the ADOS California delegation that recommended a no on Prop 25. There were good arguments on both sides, if you ask me. Right now, no is winning 53%, and yes is winning 46%. So right now, no on Proposition 25 is winning 53 to 46. We'll see if those numbers hold. Like I said, there is about 35% of what we expect the total number of votes in, to be in, and we have another update coming at about 10 p.m. West Coast time. So that's the proposition rundown.
Okay, and Chris, since you're in the Sac County voter information, could you tell us really quickly where propositions A, B, and C are out for local Sacramentans who might want to know?
I thought you'd never ask. So if you're here in the Sacramento area, specifically in the city of Sacramento, and by the way, if you're in Elk Grove, I want to touch on your mayoral race too, because there's some big news there. It seems like. But if you're here in the Sacramento area, in the city of Sacramento, we had three ballot measures on the ballot. We had measures A, B, and C. Measure A is a strong mayor ballot measure. Measure B was a ballot measure that would extend some time for the redistricting process, and then measure C was to do more rent control here in the city of Sacramento. So again, with about 35% of what we expect to be the total number of votes in. And excuse me, again, we have another update to these numbers coming in about 20 minutes. Right now, for Sacramento, measure A, and before I say the results, ADOS Sacramento was recommending no on measure A. Okay, so right now, no, 57%. Yes, 42%. So right now, if these trends hold, it looks like measure A will fail like we wanted it to fail. So no, 57%. Yes, 42%. Measure B, ADOS Sacramento was a vote yes on measure B. Looks like that may happen. Yes, 67%. No, 32%. So if those numbers hold, which we should expect that they will, uh, yes will a yes on measure B will be the final uh, outcome, but again, we don't know that for sure right now. And measure C, which we recommended a yes on, ADOS Sacramento recommended vote yes on measure C. Sad to report that no is winning 62%, yes is winning 37% on measure C. So again, we don't know if these numbers will hold, but this is where we are right now. And actually, if you will indulge me, Kim and Yamoy, I'd actually like to touch on um, two of the races that we had a that we actually had candidates show up for our own ADOS Sacramento Community Forum. If you remember, we had My Vang running for a district council, city council 8, and we had Katie Venezuela, who was already elected pretty much to District Council 4 here in Sacramento. Um, if I could pull up the results for District 8 right now, looks like a super tight race. Okay, with again the same 35% of the votes in. Super tight race. My Vang, 50%. Les Simmons, 49%. Okay. So this is a super tight race for District 8, City of Sacramento, City Council. 50% for My Vang, who we had on our show, or on our forum, and Les Simmons. And let me tell you how tight this race is. And this is why we say that it matters to vote locally. My has 3,986.87 votes. Les has 3,934 votes. 50 people. Okay. 50 people vote difference right now. All right. So every vote counts. This is why we say it's so important to vote locally. 50 people are going to be, right now could determine who the city council person is for District 8, which is a very important district here in the city of Sacramento. A lot of black folks down there in District 8, or at least more than the city, on average. So I just wanted to report that too. Thank you.
That is a close race. And did I see that my Vang was endorsed by Bernie Sanders? I thought I saw that an
Really?
endorsement from Bernie
I didn't.
came
I
in
didn't
for
see that.
her.
I
Ah,
didn't see that.
yeah.
Totally possible.
If I'm not mistaken. So did you see the latest results on Minnesota? Chris, did you want to talk about top of the ticket and the results that just came in? Minnesota, Biden wins Minnesota, Hawaii, and Trump takes Montana and Iowa.
Wow. Okay, this is getting interesting, fam. This is getting interesting, fam. Um, so right now I'm looking at the presidential electoral votes results. And I want to tell you where I'm looking at them at, right? So we can look at them together. I'm on 538.com, and I'm looking at the ABC News electoral results right now. Currently, Joe Biden is leading in the race to 270 with 205 electoral votes. Donald Trump has 165 electoral votes. This is without several states being called yet, including some of the states that we have, that we talked about earlier, in particular Texas. Um, but right now, 200 and excuse me, looks like Florida is Donald Trump is projected to win in Florida also as of 9 minutes ago. Wow, 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 wow. So Donald Trump is projected to win in Florida, and he was just projected to win in Ohio before we got to the state breakdown of the results here in the state of California. Um, uh, I don't see anything about Iowa yet, but if that's the case, then though these numbers will change. You need 270 to win, as we started the conversation off with. This is that Florida number, that Florida call and that Ohio call are really interesting to me, because those are two states that Democrats thought they could win. They were very important to the path to winning the election. No matter what happens tonight, fam, this is a much closer election than Democrats thought it was going to be. We may not know who the president is tonight. That's for sure. Especially since certain parts of the states that are left to count, are going to start counting some of their votes until tomorrow. Anyway, I'm thinking Pennsylvania. I'm thinking Georgia. I'm interested to see what North Carolina says, or North Carolina does. But I mean, but you know. This is that Florida call is a big deal. That Florida call is a big deal. It was close all night. Florida closes polls at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. That's 4:30 p.m. our time. So it took, and right now we're closing up on 10 o'clock. So it took 5 hours to get to this call. Florida is always an important state, right? Every single election cycle, but that is a big call. Right now, it's Trump it's Biden 205, Trump 165. I mean, if to be honest, it's a lot it's a lot closer than a lot of us expected. I excuse me, I predicted, and if those of you who didn't see, on the Black Civic show earlier, I predicted that Biden would win the 270 electoral college votes needed to take the presidency. That is looking less and less likely the case. I'm keeping my prediction because obviously I don't want to change it in the middle, but that is looking less and less likely. 205 electoral votes for Biden, 60,692,000 votes total, and Donald Trump, 165 electoral votes, 59,382,950 votes. So I mean, this is a razor thin, 1 million person, nationwide difference. It's probably the same as we saw. It's almost as we saw here, and we are seeing here in the city of Sacramento. The race between Mai Vang and Les Simmons is could be decided by 50 votes. Less than 1%. Same at the national level right now. So this is a big deal for those of us who thought that Joe Biden, was favored to win. Wow, this is a big deal. I didn't vote for either of them. Like we said earlier, but wow.
Okay, well, let's talk about what's in it for ADOS if they do win. Let's talk a little bit about the heartbeat of our agenda, and the movement that and energy that's been created behind it. Take a listen to what Stevie Wonder had to say.
I hear that someone wants to give Black Americans or African American people a holiday. They want to make supposedly Juneteenth the holiday. Okay, I'll tell you what you can do better than that. And I know Joe Biden will do it. Give us reparations. For the work that we've all done for the last 400 years, unpaid. I hear that.
Okay, so the movement is gaining some steam. We're having celebrities come out in favor. We know Ice Cube has been all in the news. Now we've got Stevie Wonder saying that Biden's going to be the one to give us reparations. So we'll just take a quick look at their Black proposals. I'm not even calling them Black agendas at this time, but let's talk about the three proposals on the table. We have Ice Cube's contract with Black America. We have Biden's Lift Every Voice. And of course, we have Trump's Platinum Plan. Let's see what they say. Lift Every Voice, the Biden plan for Black America. Joe Biden knows that African Americans can never have a fair shot at the American dream so long as entrenched disparities are allowed to quietly chip away at opportunity. He is running for president to rebuild our economy in a way that finally brings everyone along. And that starts by rooting out systemic racism from our laws, our policies, our institutions, and our hearts. So after 47 years, he finally wants to bring everyone along, huh?
If you and I'm thankful that you didn't read the rest of it because I would have pulled out my beard hair. Okay, because if you read through the plan, that's probably what you read right there is probably the only only times he mentions African Americans or Black people after that. After when you read through the plan, is people of color, disadvantaged communities, minorities this, minorities that. Uh, Here's what we're going to do for everybody and how it's going to trickle down to you, Black people. It's not specific at all. And I don't know that the Biden campaign really knows what a Black agenda or a Black proposal is. They know what they know what agendas are for other groups, because if you go on that same website, if you look at the part about Native Americans, I believe, or the part about Latinos or Asian Americans, no slight, no shade to those groups, but they have very specific policies and plans for those groups specifically. On the same website, right next to the African American plan. And when you look at the African American plan, he starts off talking about us, and they seem to do this very well. They will describe the problem very well. We know what your people been through all these years. We know this is the problem. We know this is the problem. Here's what we're not going to do for you. Okay, that's what it ultimately ends up with. So The plan is a no-go. It's dead on arrival. It's smoke and mirrors. Okay, and it's not enough. It's not adequate. And it's not. I'm not trying to be mean here, but this is politics. It's not adequate. It's not a black agenda. It's not even a black proposal, to be honest with you. It is a proposal for people of color where you use black people to sell it, and that's what it is.
All right, let's see what the platinum plan has in store. Let me just get that a little bigger here. Okay, the platinum plan, President Trump's pillars. Opportunity by achieving historic employment levels for Black Americans, as well as increasing access to capital for new businesses. President Trump has been committed to ensuring all Black Americans can achieve the American dream. Security. By signing into law the celebrated First Step Act, President Trump has brought common sense criminal justice reform to American people for the first time in decades while ensuring that our streets and communities are safe for families and business owners. Prosperity. As the first president to provide long-term funding to historically Black colleges and universities, this administration continues to seek immediate and generational advancement for Black Americans. Fairness. As demonstrated through his actions to initiate investment into opportunity zones, as well as address health disparities, wage gaps, necessary education reforms, President Trump works every day to advance a fair and just America for the Black community. Sounds pretty good, huh? What you say?
Let's chop this up. So, sorry, your boy, you want to say something?
Yeah, fam. We actually have a caller on the line, and we have a couple minutes into the show. So, okay, we should probably just skip that whole Trump nonsense anyway. So let me get the caller on the line.
Let's go to the call. I definitely what the caller got to say.
All right, caller 510. Can you state your name, where you're calling from?
What's up, ADOS California fam? This is Rita calling in from the Bay Area. How you guys doing?
What up?
What's going on? You guys watching the results, huh? I never call in, but I figure okay, I'll call into the California show. I want to give a shout out to my Bay Area folks and just announce some of the Bay Area early results. Have you guys checked into those? Some of the Bay Area races and stuff like that, or not?
No, we haven't looked at the Bay Area stuff, but anything in particular you want us to look at?
Hello? I mean, well, I would just say only because we had a couple of, with the ADOS Bay Area chapter, we had a District 7 Oakland, forum. So we've been looking at that race and trying to see what the results from that would be. And then also we had two candidates from Oakland that both had a Black agenda that we had as guests to our chapter meeting as well, too. So looking at those results early. So for District 7, and that's Deep East Oakland. I'm not in District 7, I'm in 6, I'm right over the border, but that's Deep East Oakland. It's where we have, reparations now signs up. We've been doing some advocacy in District 7, so we have that forum. And so right now, Cuba Reed is up. I think 37% of the vote, and I think the next contender, Bob Jackson, 30-something. So early votes are looking like Cuba Reed's going to pull that out, which should be interesting. She's the daughter of the incumbent who had been in there for almost over 24 years. So that was just a real interesting race. So everybody look out for that. Right, and then Deep East Oakland, we look forward to working with whoever wins that. And then the other two that came to our, ADOS area chapter meeting that had that Black agenda, Carol Fife That's a big race right there. She was endorsed by Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders came here. She spoke for him. She was kind of the head of that Moms for Housing movement that went on too. So she was for District 3. And so she's pulling out her race, which is big because she's beating out the incumbent. So Carol Fife, she came to our meeting too. Shout out to Josiah, who helped to bring her to our meeting as well. So I just want to point those two out, both Black women too. I must, just pop that in there. Bawapa, shout out. But yeah, that's what I got for the update, Sam. I don't know if I can't hear y'all. I'm watching y'all on the screen too. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah, we can still hear you, fam. We're just muting our mics until you give us that wonderful report. As always, Rita, thanks for calling in. You're the first caller on the ADOCA Media platform, and Rita, we always appreciate your work.
Thank you, Rita.
Always appreciate y'all work too. Thank you guys so much. Shout out ADOS California.
Digital claps to Rita in the house.
The first official first caller. You made history. All right. When this show blow up, you're gonna be the first caller ever. Thank you so much, fam. Appreciate it.
And Rita, can you give us where you're at online and I know ADOS Bay Area, you have your own show too, right? Oh, I guess Rita logged off, so you gotta unmute your mic, Chris.
I'm even sorry I had a connection issue. I had to get back on, but I heard most of what Rita said. Shout out to the ADOS Bay Area fam too. Y'all did an amazing job on bringing candidates and excuse me, having candidates come to speak to your group and having a candidates forum and really doing some really good local political work, amazing work. Also, I want to give y'all a shout out for your work on Prop 25 also. Amazing work on Prop 25 also. Looks like Prop 25 is going to go down if I'm not mistaken. But great work to the ADOS Bay Area fam. Shout out to y'all, and definitely shout out to you, Rita. Appreciate it 100%.
Okay, so we're running up on an hour here, but I did drop links to each of the proposals in the chat if you guys want to take a look at them, read through them. I think Trump's is only 2 pages long, so that won't take you long to get through. But take a look at them when you have a chance. And if you guys have anything else to say, I'll just really quickly pop up this side-by-side comparison of the plans, just so we can kind of take a visual look at what they're offering.
Beautiful, amazing work. Screenshot that, family, if you haven't, screenshot that. That's an amazing visual, amazing graphic. As you can see, the number one item up there is reparations, and none of them have reparations in there, right? Reparations is at the core of what we're fighting for as a movement called ADOS, right? And without reparations, almost nothing else works. Okay, we have to drive that point home, and I think we will more so. Without reparations, nothing else works in the way that we are going to want it to work. It may have some measured small positive gains here and there, but it's everything else is a band-aid if we don't get the real medicine, the real cure, which is reparations. So that's on the top of the list, and none of the plans have that.
Actually, Chris, just to clarify, actually, contract with Black America does mention reparations, and so does Lift Every Voice. Shouldn't be Anstein. Sorry, that's a typo. Maybe. But yeah, Lift Every Voice does mention a task force to study reparations, but it doesn't go into full detail of what that means. So it's definitely needs to be worked on a little bit more in that supposed contract with Black America. under Joe Biden's plan.
No, right on. And what I mean, so when I say they don't have reparations in them, it's not that they may not mention it or talk about it. I know in Cube's part, he has an actual section on, or at least I believe he is going to be adding a section on reparations if it's not already there. And the other parts talk about reparations, but we want to be clear. Saying you support the HR 40 study is not equal to reparations. And also, you know, sometimes what these plans will do is they will use the word reparations and then describe the exact opposite of,
Yeah.
reparations. So, in terms of what's actually inside and the content, none of those plans, with the exception of maybe Cubes, and I have to look at Cubes again, because I know there have been some talks with Cube around modifying his plan to include the kind of reparations that we talk about when we talk about reparations, a multi-trillion-dollar, multi-generational plan specifically to Black American descendants of U.S. chattel slavery, American descendants of slavery, that at bare minimum closes the lineage wealth gap. At bare minimum $10 to $12 trillion. You know, that's what we're talking about, right? Nobody's really gotten there yet, at least from what I can tell, but I could be wrong, and I would definitely want to take a look at Q's plan again. Great work with the comparison too, fam, by the way. Great work. Great work.
All right, Kim, looks like we are beyond our time here, so it's about 1:07. Should we even get into Judge Amy Barrett, or should we just save that till next time?
Maybe save that to next time. Give her some rope to hang herself, and we'll be back to talk about her later.
Okay. Well, it looks like there are no callers in the queue right now, so I don't know, fam. I guess at this point we're just gonna say greetings to everybody. I don't know, Chris, if you want to say something. You've been grinding all.
I've been grinding, man. I love it, man. I love it. Listen, man. I love it. We had a lot of politics today. Obviously I'm a political junkie, so I live for this kind of stuff. We still don't know who the president is going to be. So I'm going to stay up for a little while longer and try to catch as much of the other results as possible. But before we leave, one thing I will say is we are leaving, at 10:10 here West Coast time, with no call for who the next president of the United States will be yet. Donald Trump trailing Joe Biden in the Electoral College votes. Right now, Joe Biden has 205 Electoral College votes. Trump has 171, with some big important states yet to be called. So right now, it's anybody's game, and we can leave it there.
All right. Well, I guess we shall see. We shall see. Well, thanks for joining, everybody, and try to stay safe and stay sane.
All right, Kim. This time we gotta hit the outro. We got it.